Yo, what's going on, people? Number one interview platform in UK music right now. We are NFTR. Myself, Viz, the full team in the house, Posty, Chams. We got another special guest. The album's out, Dreamland. We got Mike Righteous in the building.
That's a very humbling welcome. I could do with that wherever I go.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, so from Yob Culture to Dreamland, which is out now. The journey's been amazing. Everyone knows you're from Margate because you fly the flag for Margate, which is refreshing.
Where is Margate? Where is Margate?
Margate's on the southeast coast of Kent, sort of like... Do you know that bit of toast that you hold with your hand and you sort of eat everything around it and then just dash that bit away because you've been holding it the whole time? It's kind of like that bit. That's like Margate.
I don't waste any toast. Yeah, very hungry person.
All right, bad analogy. Not everyone wastes that bit of toast. I do. Basically, we're on the corner of Kent. Like, couldn't be more remote.
It's one of the poorest areas of the UK that's been documented. You being from there, what was your background like? Like, what was it like growing up there? I know we've heard a couple of the lyrics in a couple of your songs, but talk us through those what sound like hard times, man.
So it's just Margate is what it is, you know, and everywhere I go I sort of see the same thing, and everywhere has its sort of problems. Margate in particular, and me growing up there was a thing of like, it's a blessing in almost, because although I grew up in like a really sort of impoverished part of the country, it allowed me to tell a great story. It fed me with so much life that I shouldn't have experienced that at that time in my life, like at the age I was. But being able to allowed me to become a great storyteller.
So what was it like for you growing up? Like, what kind of things did you endeavour? What was your household like? What was you eating?
I'll tell you the truth. I'll tell you what my situation was like. My house... my dad was an immigrant. I was a second generation. I come from a second generation immigrant. My family dispersed when they were introduced to sort of Western culture. I have 7 older brothers. I'm the youngest. I feel like I'm the most special because I had all of them to look at. So I learnt through my life via their mistakes, so to speak. And growing up in a household where some of your brothers are going to prison, every single one of my brothers, every single one of my family members has been in jail for more than 2 years, apart from me and my sister. And that's it. My family dispersed and left me in a sort of 4-bedroom house, where at one point was sort of deemed unsafe to live in by the council. They had come in and they said, well, no one's really allowed to live it. There's no running hot water. There's no electricity. Yeah. And that's where I truly found myself in the darkest of times. No electricity, no hot water. I was eating out of bins at one point in my life. Now, people will look at that and they're going to be like, Lau messing with an artist at 8 hours. How can you knock that? I wasn't blessed with the hustler's mentality because I grew up from a place because I grew up in Margate. But what happened is when I met the Mandem and they introduced me to that life, and I'd been secluded all this time, and I lived in an environment where it was just me and 4 walls in a dark room, and the only bit of light I had came from a lamppost outside my window that shined on my floor, so I was able to sit on the floor with a bit of cardboard, didn't even have paper, and I was penning all these lyrics, and I was so young that any boy that just devotes himself to something 100% and gives nothing else, and nothing else, didn't go to school, didn't have a social circle, couldn't really string a sentence together. The only thing I had in my life was rap albums, proper rap albums. And at that time, I wasn't introduced to no friends, no family. So when I was introduced to a community, and my friends, people that you'd walk around on the street that looked just like us, you know what I mean? They gave me the opportunity, and they were hustlers. How did you think I funded my first EP?
But where were your parents? Where were your siblings? Where were they at this stage?
My dad, he was trying to sort of mend himself as a person. He had a heroin addiction that he was trying to overcome. When he came over to this country, he brought my brothers on his back and then had to go back to Iran to get the rest of my brothers. He was going through trauma. When they come to this country, they had to shop work. There was nothing else they could do. It's what they did back home. It's how they earned a living. I had 7 brothers that were all up for it, and they backed it. But as I say, life takes its toll. My brothers went to jail. My brothers ended up in relationships that kept sending them back into jail. It was a repetitive cycle to eventually everybody was busy doing their own thing. And Rocky kind of got not forgotten about, but it was kind of like,
who's
Rocky's
Rocky?
cool.
You're Rocky.
I'm Rocky, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. As a kid, as a child in my household, it kind of just become a thing of like, they'd pop in and out of my life, but no one really had that constant thought of like, damn, Rocky's in that yard on his own, we got to get him out. Because
You avoided prison though.
I managed to avoid everything. People, prison, school.
I've got to talk to you, like you, as someone who, my mother was on heroin, as someone who has a parent who has a drug addiction, you speak about it very nonchalantly.
It's like a counselling session.
No, but it's a very honest conversation. It's something that, obviously, overcoming that, you seem really desensitized to
we
it.
could go back to what we were saying in the beginning of this conversation about coming from Margate and feeling blessed that I'm able to become this great storyteller. So who am I to keep this information to myself, especially when there's people like me? So imagine if I never had that Eminem in my ear or that DMX or that Nas, because they did that for me. So when I realised I had that gift, who am I not to give it back to people? Who am I not to tell the truth and tell people about?
But how did you overcome it? Because obviously for a lot of people out here, you know, you're out here, you're a musician, you're someone who's held in a certain esteem, you're held on a platform, you know, people are looking at you and thinking, you're amazing, you have all this stuff going on for yourself. Like, what is it that makes you feel like, okay, well, I'm going to open up, you know, because for like myself, I'm a woman, you're a man.
In time, I talk about how I met this group of friends and they literally grew me up and they didn't let me shot. They knew I was sick. And that's because when a minor comes up to you and he's able to deliver the way I was able to deliver, there was no way you would, in your right mind, let that kid go and deal drugs or do anything. And they're the people that sort of took care of me and implanted this knowledge in me. And like I say, there was a moment in time when my mentor, my main guy, and I'd ripped loads of tracks. I was just hungry, just firing off. And then he said to me, you know, sat me down and he said, write something that's real to your situation, to your life. Not that stereotypical story that we hear, because your story is unique. So you tell that. And then that day I wrote a song called Wings. I want to fly away, escape this place, and paradise is where I stay. Wings. I want to reach the sky, leave the streets far behind, rewind my life. I want wings. That's one thing I pray for. Great Lord, give me wings so I can escape war. Wings. You take me all the way to the heavens, a place where angels sing is where I need to be headed. And then in that moment in time, he literally grabbed me by my waist, swung me around the room. And that was it, the literal change in my life where I knew that is what I needed to do. Deliver these lyrics from a personal point of view. So anybody that was like me, anybody that hasn't got that voice to tell them, this is a bit of inspiration, here's a bit of greatness from someone that came from here, so you're able to do the same. It's just relaying a message that...
But you speak about like motivation, and you sound like a motivational speaker. You said that you weren't in school. Like, what was it that helped you? Obviously, you know, you had these people surrounding you, but in terms of kind of that arm of Icarus kind of holding you and saying, okay, you know, this is great, you're going to do something amazing. How did you learn to hone that talent and bring it into words? You're a wordsmith and you're saying words, a lot of big words, I did
a lot of reading,
Okay.
Just a lot of talking, conversations. You know, you are the company you keep. And knowledge is, you don't know anything unless you've been told it, I always say.
You fly the flag for Margate, but what was it like growing up there in terms of that community accepting you, being from the background that you're from?
I mean, my brother...
Racism must have been...
My brother had to become who he was.
The boxer.
Yeah, to sort of learn to defend himself. And Margate was a lot worse 10 or 15 years ago, when you had BMP running around and like skinhead gangs running around on a regular, like every other weekend they'd be coming down to kick the crap out of you, and we weren't allowed at our house and shit.
But you still loved the place,
Yeah, like we still go out looking for beef. Like it weren't like we'd stay in our house, like we got told not to, but we'd be out there looking to have it up and stuff. But that was just again like one of the things growing up. Everywhere has its different issues, and that was one of the things that we had to deal with growing up, being poor, having to fight someone every single day. Like the same geezer, you're in a small community, you're bumping into each other every day. It's kicking off every single time you man are seeing each other.
So how important
10 fights with one guy.
How important is the refugee crisis to you then? How connected do you feel to that?
Yeah, I feel ultimate connection, because like they wear my face when I see them people. That is my people, like that is my roots, and I feel like I've been disconnected from where I'm from over years of sort of sanitization, where I've gone to school and people have made me feel ashamed about my own surname. I was made to, people laughed. I had a time in assembly when we was all doing our exam, and this is the time that I decided, fuck school, mate, because I was in the assembly and the geezer conducting the exam was like, everyone, could you put your surnames on the top of the paper, please? Unless you've got a really long, silly name like Takalubagashi. And the whole crowd like erupted, man. Them like, bop, bop. And I'm just sitting there, man. I was like, Ras Clark. Like, they made me feel ashamed of my own heritage. And from that day, I just didn't want to know about it. I was like, oh, man, I'm English, man. I don't know about Iran. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? And that now
How long did you go through that for?
Up until like a couple of years ago. Not even
honest,
that.
the first time
like
that I kind of came across you, I've been working with Chas Chas. I know you. No, I said a petty wrong.
So I know.
Chas,
Sorry, can I just say
guy.
something quickly about where you're from? Yeah, have you got a following in that country as well, in Iran?
In Iran,
have you got a following?
I'm not sure as Iranians take too well to sort of rappers like me, socially like aware. I know there's a rapper in Iran called Hitchkas. Yes, I think it's like this is what I mean, guys. This is sort of embarrassing for me because I feel like I don't know nothing about my own heritage, like my own roots. Like I've lost touch with what I am, who I am, not anything, but other than the fact that if I was to endeavour into what my people done for this earth, not saying they done more than everyone else's, but everyone's background, we need to know where we came from. So it will enrich us with knowledge about ourselves, of self-worth, because you understand how the blood that's in you, I suppose. And I was always made to feel ashamed of that.
No, 100%. Like I was saying, I first came across you.
You ever felt like that, like if you got a mad long African name and like someone like in school? I guess not, because I guess it's more multicultural in the schools that you guys went to. Am I wrong?
In London, you don't feel it as much, because it's the most one of the most multicultural cities in the world.
so.
I don't have a long surname, but I lived in Carshalton when I grew up, so I was literally the only black person. Carshalton.
What's that?
Sorry, I was the only black person on the whole estate, and my mum's white, and my family are white, so I was literally the only black person.
Yeah, and in terms of like social circles, was you like
I was the
sort of
brown girl in the
accepted,
ring.
like, oh yeah,
literally.
you was, yeah.
Yeah, like literally the brown girl in the ring. Like that song was it's not funny. Bob Marley wasn't funny for me. It come on when I entered.
I think at the time I was that person as well, and I was living in it, and I was kind of just thinking, yeah, this is fine, you know what I mean, little jokes here and there, but then you start realising like racism's kind of quite insidious, and if you look at it from a historical point of view, it runs a lot deeper, and like people that don't think they're racist are actually racist, really racist. No, I'm joking, but you know, in a sense of like, it's casual just for a person to be like, yeah, just up there in a package shop, and they're sitting right next to me. Do you know what I mean? But
so where did the name Mike Righteous come from? Because it doesn't. Yeah, what is Mike Righteous?
Mike is righteous. Mike is righteous on the microphone.
Who is
so
Mike?
when I touch this bit of equipment here, I can do nothing but be 100% transparent and honest. And every time I give an answer, it will be the same answer because it's the truth.
I'll be honest. I feel like maybe like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago, you were probably like top 10 hottest MCs.
I was
in the
actually
country.
on the 2013 Hot for 2013.
Yeah, like your buzz
extra.
was strong, like very strong. It was like, you know, like there's like different categories of types of rappers. You was like in the low key category type of rapper, as in like, you know, like
I think it helped the fact that he proper like championed me when I was like 14 and was just like, this boy's the.
Tell us about that.
Low-key was my sort of key to the game, which is ironic because he's got 3 mixtapes called Key to the Game. I met Low-key through Logic, if you know Logic, from Brixton, old school PDC member, now like reformed, just great guy, sick veteran of this shit. He brought me in, and I met him through English Frank. First time I ever come to London, English Frank brought me to Brixton, and I'd never been to Brixton. And I'm seeing all this culture, and I'm walking, I'm walking around and feeling all this culture. And I remember this time English Frank was like, yeah, lean out the window, man. You can blaze zoots around feds. I rolled down the window. I was like, and I drove off. I was like, this place is fucking sick, mate. 2 minutes later, all you hear is, I was like, fuck. You know what the funniest thing was, yeah? Frank got out of the car, put on the glasses, put on this like old sort of farmer hat, and he was like, I don't know what's going on here, gentlemen. I have a little bit of cannabis on me. Would you like it? And I was just like, this guy here deserves a round of applause.
Big up, Frank.
That's a side story. That's a side story. But
Did you get away? Everything
We
was
got
cool.
away. They took all our crow, but yeah, we got away. He introduced me to Low Key, and I feel like I'd managed to get myself to a point where I was young enough and talented enough to sort of blow away anyone, anywhere in the world I was. You could drop me in the sickest hood in the middle of Compton, and where I was young, if someone pulled out a gun on me, I'd spit a bar. And that would put their gun back in that holster and make them shake my hand.
You see me? When the gun got pulled in me in the middle of Stonebridge, it was stop, drop and roll. Lena said to me, Lena's my business partner, by the way. She said, no, that's for fire, okay? You don't do that when the gun's pulled out. So
Crazy.
I'm glad that you knew.
No, it makes sense. You know what it is? I can understand that, like, sort of passion in you. Like, even to, like, I'm sure that's why we're all here. When you're passionate about something, you feel like it takes over your soul, sort of thing, especially when you're starting. So that makes sense. I first got introduced to you as Chassapetti.
Actually, you guys put up my first ever video.
I know, bro. We did the first of many things.
No problem, bro.
But I'm glad you said that out here. So he introduced me to you as this raw talent, like this crazy nigga from somewhere I didn't know. And I'll be honest, like, I watched that shit, I was like, this nigga's hard, you know what I'm saying? And even through our conversations today, I've established, like, where that hunger came from. Like, eating out of bins and doing, like, mad shit. Like, it's just different to what other people are accustomed to. And for me, it's like, why is it that Mike Righteous is still here today? Like, why do you think that you're still relevant today, even though...
Because I feel like because of who I am, because of how I spit, because of the angle I've took and the sort of approach I've made of kind of being like, no, this is what I want to do, this is how I'm going to stay, it's kind of built a different sort of backwards fan base. And what I mean by that is when you look at artists, they have split their fan base into two fan bases. So you got to think of it as like their fan base is their own sort of world, and you have in that world you have a core, and that's their core fan base, and that's the guys that will be there until that artist is dead. The rest around it will just be there when they drop 2 hot songs and they can wave their hands in a club and get champagne sprayed on them. I have a backwards sort of fan base, whereas I ain't got that massive sort of stratosphere of air around the core, but I have a really, really big core fan base. So when it comes down to it, they will continuously support me throughout my career, and I'm so grateful for that because I can take 3 years to sort of mentally prepare myself for my career and my life, and then just come back and still drop albums and still manage to do really well sales-wise.
To be honest, the question I wanted to ask you, to be honest, I think I fell back. The question I wanted to ask you is that when I'll keep it completely real.
This is not for the radio.
I saw you like just as some hungry dude, yeah?
Yeah. A lot of people thought I was on drugs because I was that kind of on it.
Nah, I didn't think you was on drugs, ever. But when I saw you, you was just so hungry. And then when I spoke to you and I heard you talk, it was like, from an ignorant point of view, it was like, it completely unbalanced me. Not because how you talk is wrong, it's because you're very eloquent. Do you know? Does that make any sense?
You can articulate really well.
Because we're
like
from London
struggle.
and we're from here, and we know how people from that struggle speak, and we're accustomed to certain things. I would say that, like you said before, no one else from Margate has made it apart from your brother.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's going to sound weird, but I sort of channel through to like a sort of higher plane of like thought, especially when I write and I perform. And I feel like if you listen to like Nina Simone talk compared to Nina Simone sing, like that voice comes from somewhere else. When people hear me talk and then they hear me rap, that voice is coming from somewhere else. It is my speaking voice, but with every sort of ounce of sort of spirituality, pain, passion and compassion in my bones put behind it.
So what's your motivation? Is it money? Is it this? Is it your past?
That's a great question. I feel like my fortune, my eye has always been set on a particular prize, and my fortune is not money. I honestly, money's nice, you know what I mean? Money can pay for me to buy a new coat or take my kid to school, but my biggest motivation and the thing that really keeps me going and stops me from just going to work on the road is the messages that I open up every day from my avid listeners, from that core fan base. At points in my life, I could have really done with money, and like I was belling up my manager saying, "Can we get some shows in?" But ultimately I never get prouder and I never get a feeling of I want to do this more than when I open up an email from someone's girlfriend and her boyfriend's terminally ill and he's in a hospital bed in Australia and he's going to die, and he still manages to like listen to the music and feel a sense of like, nah, fuck this, like I'm gonna breeze through this because I can. And that's not a lie. Like that happens I feel like that happens on a regular with me constantly. I'm always replying back to people, trying to get in touch with people and just keep a connection with people I can afford to help. There's no success greater than that for me. I measure success on how many people I help. And saying that, maybe from an egotistical point of view, when I go to sleep, I want to know that the balance is correct, that I've done more good than bad, and that goes right until the end of my days. I want to know when I leave this earth, I've done plenty more good than I have bad. And that's not chasing. I'm not saying chasing, like being about money is bad. Like I honestly believe if I follow this path of sort of just be concerned with doing this, make this your fortune, and the money will come because you deserve it.
I think you connect with people because you talk about real experiences and real issues. But your name has been in a couple of mix-ups over the years. I was reading about you online today, and I did see it happen, but I didn't pay much attention to it. So I want to talk about the Naughty Boy One Direction situation. Where was you accused of leaking a song or something like that? Is that how it went down?
Yeah. So I leaked the song.
Oh, you did leak the song?
Yeah, I wasn't accused. I was accused of stealing it from a studio.
Okay.
I was accused of stealing a hard drive from a studio, putting my verse on it, then airing a song.
So it was Zayn from One Direction. It was his
with
song.
Zayn with One Direction.
Produced by Naughty Boy.
It was a cover of the No Type remix. He didn't produce it.
Okay.
No, he just recorded the vocals.
All right. So what happened then? Why did you leak it? Why was there such kind of
because there was really
animosity?
There was loads of animosity within like the camp, and to be honest, it's one of them things that I just know happened like a good few years ago now. I haven't really spoke about it on any platform, so if I am going to speak about it, might as well be this one.
Yeah.
I have held it back on every other platform. I mean, I was going to save it for a big time, so might as well do it now.
This is big time.
Exactly, that's what
time.
I'm saying. Like, we might as well get it out in the open. But yeah, like the song came about in the studio. We was all in the studio when the record was being played. I was sort of unsigned. Like I never had like an actual record deal. I was at a publishing deal, so I had no sort of strings attached to me. So the whole plan was that I leaked the record in the first place. And then where things sort of got like, oh no, it's getting too close to the time. Let's allow it. Like everything was getting too emotional with like the thing that was going on with Zayn when he just left One Direction. It was, I don't think they anticipated how much effect it actually had, like nationally, globally, everywhere. So everyone decided to sort of back out. And then I was cool with that. The record just got left, do you know what I mean? And I was working with Naughty Boy as a publisher, and I was creating this album. And I was walking into record labels. I had my people who I decided to bring on because things were moving slow. And I was trying to get records that I'd made with them. I was trying to get their backing. I was trying to get their co-sign because I felt like I needed that big machine behind me, like to get this album off the ground. Like all my people around me were like, if this is going to work, then let's go for this avenue first before we try and do it on our own, because we could do with the help. So they kind of just, I was actively going into meetings. I had a guy that was working for me. He was quite renowned in the music industry. So instead of me going into a sort of top tier level, meeting these sort of A&Rs that didn't know whether they were coming or going, I had another guy that was going to the top of the building and having a meeting with the big boys and playing them my records and saying, what do you think about this? And one time he played in my record and he said, what do you think about this? Naughty Boys walked in the room and they said, hey bro, you've championed this guy, you've heard this album, what do you think about it? In front of the record guy, you know, like, come on bro. Never heard it, bro. That's what they said. And I was like, damn, they heard it 100 times. I've been in the studio and they're just gassing over it. So for me, that was like, put your foot down last moment, like draw the line, cut the tie. And what better way to cut the tie? And the reason, to be honest, the real reason they weren't really fucking with me is because I wasn't that hot guy no more. The Stormzy's had come about, the Bugsy Malones had come about, Krept and Conan just got signed to Virgin. I was in talks with before that all popped off because I just had the success with open mic literally around that time, then straight after like all that happened. So it was kind of like, you know how this game works, like They want to know about you when you're hot.
Can we talk about the Westwood?
Of course you can. I'm here to talk about anything.
What happened there, bro? What happened?
You really want to know what happened?
Yeah, I want to know what happened.
There was an interview on the radio between Westwood and Devlin, in which Devlin was coming back off the Blood, Sweat and Beers album, and there was like, I don't know, the interview didn't seem like wildly positive. I feel like Westwood was stirring the pot a bit with Devs, like getting him to come and kind of be on the offensive. Mm-hmm. He was talking about who would you beef? If you had beef with someone, like, what would you do to them? That's not what you kind of ask someone who's just come off an album campaign. You want to talk about his album, talk about how uplifting it made you and whatever, so on and so forth. So, I took to my Twitter timeline, because I was an aggressive young man, and I ranted, what did you guys think of this? I don't know what to make of it. At the time, I had DJs ringing me up. I was that hungry guy that, you know, that everyone saw. Can you imagine, like, all these people texting me, all my mates from Margate hitting me up, go for this guy, go for that guy. And I went mad on the timeline, granted. And then the next day on Westwood's show, live on air, he dedicates like a whole segment to me where he doesn't say my name, calls me a sucker, calls me a coward, says I'm up for attention, tells me to go back to Margate. And I just thought, well, you just dug yourself a mighty deep grave there, mate. And then I'd done Sack City. And I just knew from a vocal point of like, I am a UK hip-hop artist, and where I'm from, when I go back to the hip-hop rap community, you're not their greatest ally, to be honest. Like, you're the sort of poster boy for rap in this country, but a lot of the UK rappers, that, you know what I mean, that I felt no way of sort of coming out and saying that. I didn't think I was sort of going out on a whim there, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of knew like his days were sort of numbered in a sense of like, it was just a matter of time before someone came along and made a song like that with all that sort of poking and prodding. You don't go.
Do you regret it? Do you regret that then, or did you regret it at the time? Did you when you saw the reaction?
Not really. I thought it was all quite funny, to be honest, because at the time I was getting like really championed by BBC. I was getting the Hot for 2013. I got a One Extra Live Lounge. I just got put on the playlist.
I'm not gonna lie, when Mike came about, he was literally like, you know, like you get different kind of rappers and then you get rappers with a cause. It was like Mike was like that rapper with a cause that wasn't, it wasn't Kalashnikov, it wasn't
I very
low-key.
much still am that rapper with a cause.
No, I'm just saying back then.
Of course, yeah.
And
that
the
was your
corporates,
emergence, as you're saying.
It was like you wasn't Kalashnikov, you wasn't low-key, you was Mike Righteous.
So obviously, you know, we're talking here about you being a bit mischievous on the timeline. You did do some, I think it was a Snapchat about CBiz. And then, you know, that was one thing that I feel like you did maybe retract a little bit.
Yeah, and admittedly, I'll say I will, purely because at the time I was feeling like in a funny mood, and I heard the song on my radio, and ultimately I just want, I come from like a particular standpoint of like, if it's real and it's your life, then spit it. I know a lot of people in this rap game are getting in a booth and spitting about a life that they do not live, and a lot of them sound like CBiz, in a sense of like they look up to, that's what they spit, you know what I mean? And it might not necessarily be true. And for me, that's something, that's just like a no-go. You don't do that in like, in rap. So from my perspective, I just wanted to make a personal attack on anyone that does that. And after I heard the song in the kitchen and I just took the piss out of it, it started getting loads of retweets and loads of hype. And then my general thought was like, hang on a minute, how comes this is getting loads of love? And yeah, it just turned out that I happened to sort of bring up the one artist that was really about that life, you know what I mean? And for me, it was kind of like, serves you right, you know what I mean? If I'm going to come out publicly and gun everyone that makes that music, then the people whose actual song it was might be a bit upset about that. So to a degree, that's what I sort of don't like, the fact that I took the mick out of someone's song who I didn't even know. For me, that was the wrong thing. Not the actual fact that I said what I said about the song, because I still believe that if you're going to be in the booth, then spit about what's real to you, brother, because that's what will pop the most. I didn't know C-Biz was. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know he was spitting what was real to him. And from the moment I understood that, I was just like, all right, yeah, safe, Nath, leave it out.
So what's been the last couple of years been like? I mean, I can imagine if I was like a young MC, like coming from your background, if I could imagine that like 4 years in, from 11 whatsoever, just hitting the heights, meeting the right people, doing things.
Life's life.
I didn't finish.
Sorry.
Next minute I know I'm fucking on BBC One Extra, I'm on BBC, I'm on all of these platforms, killing it, yeah? And the Naughty Boy thing, couple other things, it's been a bit quiet. But your true fans know who Mike is. You know what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. So what's been life like in the last couple of years? What's been going on?
For me, the last couple of years has literally been like working on me inside and out. Like, I feel like I took a step back just when everything was going really good, just when I had like the whole world at my feet. And that was purely just to make myself more articulate so I could deal with these situations. I guarantee if you put me in this situation 3 years ago, I would not be able to handle it. You'd have got a bunch of different answers. Like, I was muddled.
Speaking of situations that you felt that was hard to handle, obviously you were kind of openly dating Maya Jama, and then we had Stormzy, who was an emerging artist, and it was, you know, whilst you had your hype, and then Stormzy came, and it's like, okay, this is it. He's been catapulted in a certain direction. How did that situation make you feel?
Well, I think for me, the saddest part was like when we split up. But that's like anyone. You split up with a chick, you go through the motions. I split up with her, went through the motions, then she got another boyfriend. So for me, it was just like, well, that's what's happened with all of my exes.
Yeah, but all of your exes aren't like, because
well, yeah, they don't.
The thing is, I don't, without rubbing it in, Maya Jama is a phenomenal woman.
Yeah, and when I met her, she was still modelling for you.
Yeah.
So that's how long ago it was. I think now we're at a place in the whole game where everything's just like so much more perpetual that for me to carry some emotions about that would just be me really stuck in the past, and I wouldn't be stood in front of you as a man who's matured and grown up if I was still here.
The reason why I dig on this particular subject is just because you said that when the mic is live, you're honest, and those people that are watching you are likely people who may need to be overcoming similar situations. So obviously, you know, when you're in that situation and you're feeling like, you know, I'm hard done by, I've had all these things and everything's happening to me, and why? I need to kind of revisit that with you. So that people can understand, okay, when I'm in that situation, what do I do? Because it's good for you to say how you are now.
To be honest, the best thing you can do in them sort of situations when you're a bit torn up and you feel incomplete is complete yourself as a person at first. Before you enter any relationship, complete yourself as a person. Because imagine you're half a circle and you're getting with another half a circle. You're going to make one circle. Now that's one circle with two heads. Who's going to own that circle? It's a battle for who belongs. It's a battle over love. But when you're a complete circle with another complete circle and you come together, you just make a strong bond. You just make a sort of power couple.
Who's your favourite motivational speaker? I need to know. Who is your favorite? No, Posty, please.
What happens when you do the 2-circle thing, you get another circle, another girl.
Well,
that's an Audi, my nigga.
That's an Audi.
That's an Audi.
Oh, well, you get one circle, another circle, and then another circle, and another circle. You create the sort of signified Olympic sign, didn't you?
Hey.
So hopefully we got some gymnasts in there as well.
You had the ultimate circle penultimate, didn't you?
What's your weakness? Like, what's
your vice?
Like, what's your vice?
Simple, man. Kryptonite.
All right, Luke.
No, I'm joking. All right, Luke.
Luke Cage.
My weakness, it's probably like cannabis.
Cannabis. You know when people say cannabis, not weed.
Bro, look
cannabis.
at him getting bare alive. As soon as he said
Probably
cannabis,
a bit of bud,
he's
you know what I mean? Like I know I could do with
fuck?
smoking less bud. Like for me, like that's one thing that I could do with doing more of. Like my biggest like thing other than that is like constantly staring into this gadget. Like, I got a feeling that if I was to die tomorrow and my life flashed before my eyes, all I'm going to see is Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook. And then it's going to go straight back to Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook. And that's my
So
life.
you still have Facebook?
I still run Facebook.
Is that
I'm the
nice?
king of Facebook. All you artists are sleeping.
No, Facebook.
I like
is big for
Facebook.
being
Facebook
an
pops
artist.
for me, but a lot of musicians, I don't see them on Facebook.
There's a lot of people on Facebook. Like, majority of people are on
Real
Facebook.
people are on Facebook.
Especially my sort of audience.
I take that
like
back,
them people
everyone's
that are sort of all, sorry, my sort of audience that are like all over them little corners and crevices all over the UK that you don't really hear about, them tiny communities. Like, they're still on Facebook. And sometimes Jeremy Cole.
Who did you fancy? Sorry, I made it awkward.
Boy, I mean, there's so many things about, like, I like the sort of spiritual connection. I don't really go for the sort of conventional.
You know what?
looks,
You
like
see
beautiful.
guys who say they like the spiritual connection. I feel like they're slyly low key, like the worst kind of guys. I feel like they are beating everyone on the low, and they are making out that this is a spirit. You know, this is it's a spiritual connection.
To a degree, I feel I know where you're coming from, because men are snakes. Men can be like that. I know man that will just go up to you and just slate you with lines, and you're just, do you know what I mean? It's just like one of them things. It's a horrible thing to do, but genuinely, I don't like the idea of like conventional beauty and where we come from in a society of like, you have to look a particular way to be,
I've got to
attractive.
cut you because your past suggests otherwise. Very beautiful girls in your lineup.
Yeah, well, I was young, and to be honest, when I first got my piece of pussy,
Wow.
I was very much like besmitten by it, and I couldn't sort of like let go. I was like well in love, you know what I mean? My first sort of girlfriend, the first girl that would have sex with me, I was like kind of like, I'll be very honest
I'm
about
not
the whole
mature
thing.
enough.
It kind of like took over my sort of life and became like that thing. So I was like, that's something, innit? Do you know what I mean? No, it's like one of the things. As he look at, but seriously, Posty, bro. Like, no, Sham, Posty, geez, look at me, yeah? Do you think I was running around the ends before I could rap getting kial? Not really, mate. I had a big long nose, a bald head, and I used to shave patterns in my head, and I had no friends. No one was trying to sleep with me. So when I was in the industry, and like beautiful women, conventionally beautiful girls were throwing themselves at that kid, not me who I am now, the kid I was then, it was not good for me. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like not good for me. Like,
So now, what do you go for? Like, what's your kind of? If you could describe your ultimate woman physically, because you said your spiritual aspect. Well, physically, what would you go for? Because you're saying that you don't care about that.
No, I just feel like we got to be able to get on and talk throughout everything. Be able to communicate. If we can communicate, then that is the key.
Posty, on
absolute key,
GRM
man.
Daily, what we're going to do is Shams is going to match Mike Righteous up with a couple of candidates, and we're going to see whether or not it's the spiritual or the physical that takes to him.
Well, yeah,
We
we say that. I am very, at the moment, like particular about who I share my time with. So if you are going to approach me with three generous candidates.
Like, a lot of my friends now are about this. I would keep it so chill. Niggas are like, if you bareback a girl, you're exchanging your spirit with the
You are.
girl
I
or
believe
some
that.
shit.
That's why you should limit it. Do not
That's
be
like
sleeping
niggas
with
are not
everyone.
even
Don't
aware.
get me
Once
kicked
you
off.
each time.
Like we say, like when I say, I was like, oh yeah, did you catch that body or whatever? Like now it really means, did you catch that body shit on you?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's why I don't think you should sleep with lots of people.
You reckon
You don't want to
pick
get
up-
me kicked off.
That's
on
why
that.
I'm very minimal, Shams. Cheers.
That's my drink. No, I'm joking. Have it, bro. Honestly.
You finished yours.
Smash it.
He had to choose your one.
I'm joking, but I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? It's just a bit like,
To be fair, I kind of agree with Sham in a sense of like
Shams.
Sorry, love.
Wrong.
Sorry.
It's a thing. People
Yeah,
write
yeah.
Shams in the email. they write Sham.
I agree with Shams because I do think like sharing sort of an intimate moment and it's all about how you feel about it like the next day. If it's kind of like a sort of one night stand, throw it out the door the next day, you rarely feel good about it. I mean, at the time it might have felt great, but the next day I do feel like we all get a feeling of like, oh, I feel a little bit dirty. Like, that didn't feel good. Like, I got a little bit. Like, I don't know. I feel.
Can
like,
you count how many women you slept with?
This has turned into an interview about how many women I've slept with.
No, can you?
I don't
you?
think. Not personally right now. I probably could if I sat here, thought about it.
So is it on two hands or more?
Well, again, like I'd have to sit here and really think
So
about it.
you'd have to count more than twice?
It would probably go beyond two.
That's disgusting.
Really? Is it?
Mike, you're a naughty individual.
Well, to say that, a lot of it was in like my earlier days of kind of like becoming that sort of open mic period where I was like young.
Open mic. Very nice.
That was the
Very
name of
nice.
my EP that I dropped at the time.
You've been playing this.
That was the name of my EP that I dropped at the time.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, open mic. So that was when I was doing really like getting
When
all
he
the
was
numbers.
auditioning.
When I was auditioning, I was on the market, and I was a bit of when I first went to Napa. I met Miss Bratt, Shanae Rochelle, actually Maya.
And Shanae.
Yeah. So like this was the first time like I was around sort of women that weren't from Margate, and it was like a big level up. Come to Margate, you got to see what the girls are like, bro.
It doesn't sound fun, I'll be honest.
No, yeah, but that's
No, because the girls he mentioned aren't from Margate, right?
I mean, that's true.
And he said it was a big level up from Margate. So why would I go to Margate when I'm accustomed to those things?
They're not from London either.
Yeah, but I'm from London. I'm here with the cream of the crop.
All right, the album's out.
Well,
The album's
I'm
out.
just saying.
I think it's got a lot of support. I see you tweet, no one's supporting you. I think you got quite a lot of support, man. Was that directed at anyone?
Nah, I don't know. Really, if you could say I got quite a lot of support, but I've got quite a lot of support from the same people that always support me.
The first person I heard shout your name from the rooftops, I got to say, is Charlie.
Charlie,
And there's like
yeah.
a
But
competitive...
you guys-
That's wrong.
you-
I think GRM Daily. Shout out Charlie.
No, I said the first person I heard.
Here's how it worked. I dropped a video called Running, first video I ever put online, GRM Daily. They dropped my next video, Don't Leave Me, GRM Daily.
Also, we dropped you twice.
Come
dropped
on.
me twice.
Anytime we're there about GRM.
But
check it out on the
how
daily.
about this for a story? Chazzapetti, who's filming the videos, who's quite a nice asset to like the GRM
Ah, he's
sort of
amazing.
catalogue. I bought him that camera. And
Wow.
Revelation.
yeah. So technically, I'm responsible for a few of those videos.
If you had dropped the album, they're saying if you had dropped the album a couple of weeks earlier, it would have been top 10. Do you want to explain that theory, and are you pissed off about that?
Not necessarily, no, because I like going up against the grain.
Yeah.
If I'd have dropped if I'd have dropped my album 9 in the last 10 weeks, I'd have got a top 10. So 9 in the last 10 weeks. If I'd have dropped my album in any of the last 9 out of the last 10 weeks, I'd have got a top 10.
Okay, cool.
And if you look at the charts right now, you won't see any other UK rapper other than me in there.
Yeah.
Because it is it is a brave time to drop a song, but also a bit silly. But it's all about being that guy that does that sort of brave maneuver. And I feel like coming from a standpoint of the way I look at it is I'm an independent UK rapper who's made a conceptual, conscious album.
What I've got to discuss with you is that you say that now, but you see in the height of you kind of being in the studio with someone like Zayn, who has a crazy fan base, and you're recording, and obviously like it's the height of excitement. You know when you're in that studio and everyone's gassing, and you're like, okay, right, this is going to be something that's going to take me to the next level.
Yeah, but it's kind of all smoke and mirrors, because from where we're sat, the perception is that, but from when you're actually in the studio, it's kind of a different story. It's not as luxurious. Like, I met Mary J. Blige, and when you expect to meet Mary J. Blige, you expect her to kick down a door and C notes to fall out her ass. Do you know what I mean? Like, you just expect magic to happen when you meet someone like her. And the reality is, she's quite depressed, and it's quite dark to meet her. Like, it's like, fuck.
That's what I'm saying, bro. I'll be honest with you.
I got a problem with Mary J. Blige. The
Whoa.
first time...
Why? Because she did the chicken song.
Nah, not even that. I met Mary J. Blige, yeah, and I must have walked up to her and just went, yeah, one of them stories there. Obviously, big fan, went up to her and said, oh, yeah, the queen of hip-hop and R&B, that's what they call her, innit? So I'm like, yeah, the queen of hip-hop and R&B. And she was like, that's how you feel? and just walked off.
I have
That's how you feel.
I have exactly the same story. I met K Michelle, which is a brilliant singer at the Mobile Awards.
How can I call you the queen of hip hop and R&B and you go, that's how you feel?
Because
and walk off?
You know what that is? That
Anyway,
air.
what's your K Michelle? Make me feel better.
No. I'm saying, like, I know what that feels like to see like a star and say something crazy because that's what we know them for. So I saw K Michelle the Mobile Awards 2 years ago, and I see K Michelle Love and Hip Hop. She's a big like not Love and Hip Hop.
Yeah.
Just that
She's a
like a
vocalist.
big R&B singer.
Okay.
What would you say?
Vocalist.
Yeah. So I saw her and I was like, yo, that ass is fat. In the
That's not
Mobile
the
Awards.
same, no.
That's not
It is.
Yeah, that's more
That's
like...
not the same,
I
Posty.
identified her with.
It's more like
something
an
that we
insult.
know.
No, Posty.
Don't tell me she aired you after saying that.
No, she smiled at me.
I don't know.
Like Mary J. Blige didn't even smile at
No,
me.
what Viz is
He's talking about
explaining
going up to
is
Mary J. Blige
his
and
air that
confident
he
in
got
being the
had a
queen of
degree.
hip-hop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had a whole little hat, it threw it in the air. Your one, you deserve that because you just saying you got a fat ass, and she's thinking, but I'm K Michelle, nigga. Like,
So you got Vivienne Westwood on the album.
Yeah.
Big move. How did that come about and why?
Yeah, so Vivienne was in contact with a group called Fully Focused, and it was their job to sort of run the campaign and the advertising behind her global march that she's part of. Vivienne's like an avid activist. She does a lot. She's a heavy activist. She does a lot. And yeah, they contacted me about putting together a spoken word piece for the global march to sort of incline younger people to care about it. Because it's not one of them things you can just get young people to care about. You run up in the air talking about climate change. It's not really something they want to know about. So it was kind of my job to try and advocate some thought for that. I did it. You can check it out online, Time to Act. That's what the spoken word piece is called. And I actually got to perform it at the climate march. And then during the march, I was actually marching with Vivienne. And then she invited me to this group called Intellectuals Unite, which is her and a gathering of other people. And they just congregate and decipher how we can make a positive impact on this system and society. And then after we have the meetings, we usually go to a pub and have a little chat. I went to the pub, we had a little chat. I was with Vivienne. She told me that she wrote a rap lyric. I told her I got a rap album. I need like a sort of high profile feature. I'm not really expecting people to be like hardest rap track of 2016, Mike Righteous featuring Vivienne Westwood, but it's the kind of expansion of like, it's kind of the perception and the illusion, and that's what this game's kind of about.
Well, it is a talking point, definitely.
It's a talking point, and it's kind of like, it involves, it's good for things like this, you know what I mean? Allows us to give us something to talk about, and for me, does justice for my campaign. But in the light of all of it, none of it's fucking bollocks. We're all just sat here doing something greater. If you listen to what she actually says, the main focus is about what she's actually going on about in the spoken word. Like, that's the main point.
One of the deeper songs on the album is The Kids.
Yeah.
People have been talking about that. It's about the struggles of fatherhood and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So have you struggled with fatherhood? And talk to us, like, break down.
I've got a kid, he's 5 years old.
Yeah.
I had him when I was signing my publishing deal with Naughty Boy. And when I was signing my deal, one of the things they asked me is, you got any kids? And at the time, I had a chick pregnant. And it wasn't the most amicable of relationships that we had. It was quite hostile at the time. Yeah, and the song, The Kids, is kind of about like that period of my life. Because prior to that, having a kid was like my biggest fuck up. Like, if I had a kid, if you'd have said, Mike, you're going to have a kid in a month, I'd have been like, boy, shit, fuck that. You know what I mean? Because I don't need that right now. But then it happened. And like, I even went to the extent of trying to prevent it from happening. And for me, that is my sort of greatest regret. But at the same time, being a father is my sort of biggest achievement. But looking back now, like that song I had to get off my chest because I'd never spoke about that. I'd never said like, you know, I'd done a lot of songs where I spoke about the hostility between me and my baby mum, but I'd never done a song where I really said thanks, because if you weren't there, then I wouldn't have him.
I think that's something that's really important as a conversation, because we've had a few artists here and they've spoke about children that they might not have wanted from different people. And, you know, sometimes it's just like those blessings that come in disguise, because I think as a young man, as a young MC, someone who's flourishing in their career, and like you get those conversations, do you have any dependents? And you're thinking, fuck, this is it. This could ruin everything for me this moment. So it's nice that you're kind of putting that out there and also appreciating the woman in this situation. Definitely. As a woman, obviously for a man, it's easy to say, you know what, I don't want to do this. But obviously, you know, you was out there, as Posty would say, you barebacked, you know. Yeah, you got the damn thing going, willy wet, willy dry, it was all going off. And
Chams, you know?
you've got to put it out there. But it is a two-person game, it's a two-player game. And then when you get the blessing, a lot of people don't kind of come to that realisation that actually, thank you. And that's really nice.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was one of them things. And to be honest, we still don't get on. And I'm still having drama seeing my youth. But I still am man enough to say, you know, like, I wouldn't have a youth if it weren't for you. So, it's one of them things that it's just one of them things I knew could be done with putting out there, because there are just numerous people that could just feel it.
Yeah, definitely, and I like that.
So what's the Mike Righteous of now? Obviously, we know the past, we know the present.
Yeah, I just feel like I could just... I love being being in a situation where people can just look at me and just sort of be like, well, sort of look at him now from what's happened. Like, it is a unique story of greatness. And when we all talk about embracing, like, the greatness of, like, our culture, like, I do feel like I should sort of be an example for people that maybe live far, far outside the city, maybe have a kid on the way and a publishing deal going on or something like that. I can be an advocate for those people. For me, that's what's great about me. The fact that I'm full of, like, great stories that I could tell people that will inspire them to sort of do great as well.
Mike, you spoke a lot about hurdles here. I think, you know, I'm an advocate for the hurdles. I like to find out people's, you know, what has made you overcome. And I think that's important on a channel like this. Like, what is making you, like, what do you think of? What helps you to overcome? Like, what are those whispers that you tell yourself?
I'd love to read to you, like, just one of the emails that I've received in, like, the last week. From just one of the random fans. The only reason I wouldn't is because I would like to get their permission first.
I understand that.
Do you know what I mean? But they are... Last one I read, mate, like, I had to, like, sort of fight back the tears, and I'm not trying to sit here and say, don't cry, like, on a camera, you know what I mean? I'm a man, sort of thing. Like, nah, man, when I read about this stuff, it turns my stomach, hurts my heart, and that's a feeling of connection. Do you know what I mean? And to be in with that, I feel special, because I can really take that feeling and go and express it. If someone expresses their feeling to me, I can take that feeling and feel what they're feeling. I don't think everyone's able to do that. So I mean that just from a sense of, like, I've read these messages and I feel pain in me.
So what happens if you get a Stan email? What do you do in that circumstance?
Well, like, I've been
No, like, literally, you've got the Stan email, it's saying all of the above. What happens? What do you do?
It just gives me the will to carry on. In that sense, what do you mean Stan email? Like,
Stan was over the cliff. You can't just. I don't know if you want to just carry on like that.
Eminem Stan.
Right. My man's ready to. Oh, the Stan. Well,
the Stan email.
Yeah, I've actually got a song called "I Try My Best," and it's my take on Stan. I was a big Eminem fan, and I try my best to help if I can, but I don't hold the world in my hands.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
They're very eloquent.
Yeah, and that's to sum that question up in, like, one sentence. I'll try my best to help if I can, but if you're standing over the edge of a cliff and you're in Brisbane and I'm in Margate, there's not really much I can do. Like, I don't hold the world in my hands. I can't bring you to me, and if I could, mate, I really would. There's only so much I can do as one man, but I feel like that's why platforms like this are good, so I can project it across the board so everyone gets it. So maybe if you are in that Stan moment, you can just recollect a moment That was sort of.
And for an artist, because I have to ask you, because people are connecting with you. You know, we had Bieber walking out of I know it's random, but he walked out on a concert and there was lots of screaming people. He was really upset because people were screaming for his set. And obviously because they were connecting with him. Is that something that you feel like you would do? And if not, why?
I can't. I don't think. No, that's not a bit of me there. Like, it would take a lot for me. I've never left a show, walked out of a show. In fact, the first time I ever left somewhere was the other day. We was in a club and we were just there just to sort of, I don't know what they call, like, network. Like, we were just networking with people, and for me, that's part of the whole job.
What do you think?
And I had a toothache, so I was like, I can't do this. I have to go. And I was kicking myself because I left the little networking thing in a club. Like, that's nothing. I would never walk out on stage in front of people that were there to see me ever, whether it's 1 person, 10 person.
Speaking of walking out, what do you think of low key quitting? Seeing as that someone you think that brought you through.
Yeah. I mean, at the time, it was kind of like, whoa, like, I didn't know what to make of it until I'd met him and really understood why.
You met him before he quit, though, right?
Yeah, but I meant prior to him quitting. Like, we didn't meet too much. Like, he had his life, I had mine, but I hadn't met him till when I met him after he quit. And like, if you remember, he put out a post on his Facebook, and I read that post, and there was a line that stuck out to me, and it was like, this sort of like social circle, like this media thing, has a strange way, an unhealthy way of feeding someone's ego. And that hit home for me when I read it, because I was just at that place where I was just like getting fed just nonsense from everywhere. Everyone was just telling me what I wanted to hear. My ego was like pretty bad, like it was swallowing. My ego, people's egos consume them in this business, and I feel like sometimes when you're talking to people, you're not even talking to the real them anymore. You can see them inside them, and it's like, talk to me, bro.
When I see a freestyle from you across the platforms, yeah, like I click it mainly because I think you're gonna say something mad. Do you get what I mean? Like, what's been your favourite freestyle that you've did? I know the Palestine freestyle you did got taken down, didn't it? Got shut down.
Yeah, they removed, BBC removed the section Free Palestine from my lyrics, yeah.
How did that make you feel? What did you feel about that? Did you care? Did you
I mean,
understand?
at the time it was sort of conflicting because I was just trying to raise awareness around the subject, and had they left the bar in, I don't think it would have caused as much awareness around the subject. Do you know what I mean? So the fact that they actually took the bar out actually raised it to a higher level. So in a sense, it was a bit of a blessing in disguise, because what it did highlight was how much fuckery that was. You know what I mean? And I've since been to One Extra and done another Foreigner booth and said exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And they left it in. And they left it in. So it was kind of like, well, hey, 1-0 us. You know what I mean?
No, 100%. So tell us about Dreamland. Why should people buy it?
Because it's the only UK conscious conceptual album that is out there at the moment. And I mean literally, like, if you look in the chart existence, I am the only guy in there that's put my album out at this sort of peak time in the charts when, like I say, like if I'd have released it 9 out of the last 10 weeks, I'd have got a top 10. It just happens to be like Michael Bublé's released an album, Robbie Williams has released an album, Lady Gaga's released an album, Meek Mill's just released an album, Drake's still in the top, you know what I mean? Like,
I can't believe, Bublé.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't believe he's releasing stuff. I thought only the
It's
guy
like,
from
guys,
Come Dine With Me
we're 2
spoke
months
about
till
him.
Christmas. Like, to drop an album around this time is like, not career suicide, but it's just stupid. You don't do that. That's why no one is.
No, I'll be honest. I think that, to be honest with you, the real talk, you're one of the... I feel like you're coming from a good place. Like, you have your own cause.
Yeah.
It's
But I notably, I feel like it's worth taking on board the fact that it is independently made. It is really the only people pushing it are the people. Like, it isn't... People aren't... If we're talking from a sense of, like, the UK scene, you couldn't become more remote than Margate. And if someone's managed to make an independent rap album from that crust of this part of the country, this part of the country, if they've managed to make an independent rap album in a time when no one's dropping rap music in this country in October when the record sales are at their peakest, and it's a conscious conceptual album. It's not like it's riddled with like songs that have been out recently that have banged in clubs. I don't think you could pick out one song off my album that you've heard and it's been like, that's the banger off the album. There hasn't been one of them moments. It's just been like the story being told. And it is the idea of like, the most important, the significance behind the album is that you are the most significant person in your story, as you are the author, you are the first character, everything else is just secondary, and it's my life story. So documentation from the beginning, from 2005 up until 2016, when I found myself and became myself. So in that, it's a story album, and to drop it at this sort of time in the industry when things are a bit peak, especially when I'm not being championed heavily by the game, I think is a major achievement, because we are still looking at a top 20 record.
So, Mike, we've discussed your current position, your current releases. Obviously, you know, as referring back to Viz's tweet, Viz's, you know, discussion about the tweet that you sent out about you not feeling a part of the industry. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like you're part of the industry?
I don't, as long as we're talking about like a UK scene, then yes, I am, because I'm part of the UK and I will always fly the flag for the UK consistently. But in terms of where I am, I think it's right that I do rep that area, because we haven't had someone come out of somewhere like Margate. Yeah, Margate hasn't had someone like this come out. The only other two people I can mention are Tracy Emin and Takaloo, who was my brother. You know what I mean? The boxer. So I should stick by them. I've got to stick by them. And I'd advise anyone who is like me, coming from them sort of areas, to do the same. But I don't want to segregate myself. I do want to be sort of segregated and be acknowledged for that, but I don't want to segregate myself in the eyes of people, because I want them to know I believe everyone is where they deserve to be because they work to be. Do you understand? Like, they work to be there. So I'm not taking a personal attack on anyone. I just think when you are an example for the whole UK, and when you use that term, UK scene, then you should acknowledge something like when, like, I'm not asking you to tweet my tracks every time I drop a track, no way, because that's just not how it works. We look after ourselves and we look after our pals, and like if I don't know you, then why should I just randomly tweet your track? It won't make sense. But I do feel like it's what we've done with Dreamland is a bit bigger. Coming from Margate, being the only UK conscious, being conscious, having an independent album, having that in the charts at a time when everyone's a bit shook. Everyone knows it's a bit stupid to drop music at this time. I feel like it's a brave thing. And when we do get like the sort of top 20, hopefully, God willing, it's not about that. But if we do, I feel like it should be something that everyone in the scene's proud of and we can be proud of. And yeah, so but I don't want to segregate myself, and I do think everyone's where they rightfully should be because they work to be there. So, yeah.
Cool. Bro, congratulations on Dreamland.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure having you here.
This has been one of my favourite interviews of my career.
Same as me.
That makes me really happy.
Us too, man.
Yeah.
Make sure you get that album out now.
Yeah, Dreamland is out now. Please go and get that.
Say no more. We're done.
#NFTR.